Welcome to Learn to Identify What's Damaging Your Trees, a session of the Learn About Your Land series. Please note the icon in the lower right-hand corner. That indicates a slide that has audio. The purpose of this session is not to make you an expert in forest health, rather to teach you what to look for if you think your trees are sick or dying, and how to use signs and symptoms to describe the problem to an expert. This presentation begins with a discussion of what it means to have a healthy forest and how to keep your forest healthy. In the next part, we will teach you about signs and symptoms and how they can be used to diagnose a problem. We will finish by introducing some of the threats to your forest and trees. What does it mean to have a healthy forest? These are the 5 characteristics we will discuss in the next slides. A healthy woodland is made up of many plant species. We often describe this as diversity. Where we see a large population of invasive plants, rarely do we see other native trees and shrubs alongside them. To ensure future growth of our native plants, we need to control those invasives. Insects and disease are often species-specific, meaning they prefer one tree type over others. If our woodlands contain a diversity of trees, the overall impact of an insect or disease will be limited. A healthy woodland is not crowded. Trees require water, sun, and nutrients for healthy growth. If a woodland is too crowded, trees will become stressed by the lack of or competition for those resources. When trees become stressed from a lack of resources, they become more vulnerable to attacks from insects and disease due to a weakened system. Trees are in a race to reach the sunlight from the day they produce their first leaf. A tree will also not waste energy to produce leaves that will never see the sun. However, it is to the tree's advantage to produce as many leaves as sun will allow, because the more leaves, the more food the tree produces and the healthier it will be. A healthy woodland has structural diversity as well. We mentioned the importance of a variety of species in an earlier slide. There should also be a variety of tree ages present. As trees die, there should be seedlings and saplings ready to take advantage of the gap left behind. In addition to providing wildlife habitat, dead trees provide nutrients to other trees as they break down. You can play a role in helping to figure out what is damaging your trees. You just need to follow the clues, the signs and symptoms of damaging agents. Symptoms are clues indicating something is wrong with a tree. It is how the tree responds. Signs are the actual occurrence of the pest. Now let's take a look at signs and symptoms in more detail. In addition to noting which signs and symptoms are affecting your trees, you can report where on a tree the symptoms are occurring. First, note whether there is one tree or many trees affected. If it is multiple trees, is it one species or several species? On the individual trees, is the damage starting on the top and outside, or did it start on the bottom and inside of the canopy? Now let's look at what each of those indicates. If leaves are dying on the lower canopy, it usually indicates a fungal leaf infection. That is because it is more humid in the lower canopy where the sun doesn't dry things out as much and a disease can thrive. On the other hand, leaves dying at the top indicate a sun-loving insect, or a disease that prevents the transport of nutrients all the way to those furthest reaching branches. If you have many trees dying in expanding circles, a disease may be traveling through connected roots, or you may have a bark beetle traveling through your trees. As we mentioned earlier, many insects and diseases target specific trees. If you are seeing many different types of trees dying in the same area at the same time, you are most likely dealing with an abiotic, or non-living, factor. Drought is an example of an abiotic factor. When it comes to insect damage, there are some other clues you should record about the signs. Let's explore each of these. It will be easier to determine which insect is affecting your trees if you can figure out where they are feeding. Insects have a variety of mouth parts and food preferences. If you can first determine where, the leaf, roots, or woody parts of a tree, you can narrow down which group of insects you are dealing with. Next, determine how they are feeding. Again, based on mouth parts. Insects feed by either chewing, boring, or sucking. This will narrow further which insect you might be faced with. One final clue is to determine which stage the insect is in. Sometimes this will help in determining how to fight the insect. The 4 stages are seen here: egg, larva, pupa, and adult.